Okay, okay. In the beginning, there was Beverly. There you are, Beverly, in your first snow, which had to be about January of 48, yes, because Kenny had just been born, and at Christmas, and we got the camera at Christmas, so this is beginning of 48 at Virginia Beach. First time you've ever been out. And I think you have on Hugh Leslie's boots. It looks like it anyway. And this is another day when the sun come out. And you're at there. And there's your mother out there with her. Oh, she's not going to wear flats for anything. She's got on high heels in the snow. And this is still at Virginia Beach in the front yard. And nowadays that would be called child abusing a child. And there's somebody's dog, I don't know who it was, who ran out in front of one car too many. There's your father. There's Beverly at the Christmas tree in the living room. And these are fading a little bit, so there's that infamous fireplace that you put the ashes on my coffin, and you got the only spanking you ever had. But anyway, that I recall, it's kind of fading now. There's my cheer table with all my little things on it. But now later we're over at the country club, the golf course at Virginia Beach. Which time, not too many people stay the year round down at Virginia Beach. Of course, it's changed like everything else. So at that time, there was nobody around, and we were taking Kenny out for his first outing. So this would have been the beginning of 48 also, 1948. And you will note this is in the days before everybody wore slacks. There she goes. I don't want Beverly to fall off anything. I remember the sun was just going down. It didn't take long to get dark. Remember that? And as you can see, we had the whole place to ourselves. Nobody was around, so we could act as silly as we wanted to. Beverly's you've fallen down again. Now we're hiding behind the tree, as you can see. And there's little Kenny for his first outing. And your mother acting silly. And there's your father holding Kenny. Isn't she cute? As I said, we were out there by ourselves acting silly. There's not much there, they say. This is later on over what was at that time the Norfolk Airport. I haven't been there recent years, but I know it's changed a lot. And there you are, Bev, with the wind blowing in your face. You can tell you're cold. Then this is later with this Kenny. Baby Kenny. I think this is going toward, although it doesn't look like anything's green out there, but it's towards spring. No snow either. And there you are, Bev, on your little tricycle. You have hair now. At one time you didn't have hair for a long time. You were bald-headed. This is over the Drinkwaters farm. All the property around there where we live belonged to the Drinkwaters at one time. In fact, that's who we bought from. And this is back on their farm with the goats. Sometime when they'd gone away on a trip somewhere. We just went back there to check on things. And happened to have the camera along, and we saw the little billy goats there they are, like on a seesaw going back and forth. And we're still on the Drinkwaters farm. There's your daddy holding you, Bev. And there's one of the many cats over there that I wanted to say, heavens to Betsy, put that cat down before it scratches you. And this is the Drinkwaters little pony corral over there that he had some little boys lead the ponies around, putting children on. Some days it was very crowded with children. And that's you, Beverly, and one of your first pony rides, which at the time I thought you enjoyed, but later on you said you didn't care for it. And there's Mr. Drinkwater, one of them, that I believe he used to be a jockey for some family up north someplace. He was showing us how the pony should be ridden. He also had a drive-in. You can't see it from the other side of the place there. Drive up and get fast foods. And Beverly, that's you getting wound up. Yeah. And there's Linnell, she's your cousin, come to see you. They were living in Newport News at the time, and her father was going to William and Mary, finishing up after he came back from the war. There's Linnell. There you are, Beverly. There's the place I was talking about. They serve hamburgers and things like that over there. And if you see way in the distance, you could see the Drinkwater farm where we were formerly on here. Over there where the cat and the goats were on their back. All of this is highly developed. There's a farm way back in the back. And there's the two little girls. They were born, Linnell was born July 1945, and Bev, you were born, of course, in October, the same year. So you're pretty close together. And there's Donald, my brother-in-law, and my sister Ida come in to visit us. And this was all posed. He was to drive the car with the two little girls in it. That's Donald, one of my favorite people. I'd have bought him the car after he got back from Japan, because he always wanted a convertible, and she was glad that he got back safe and sound, and apparently unchanged. He's a great person. He finished William and Mary in 2.5 years, I believe, physics. But anyway, and here is little Kenny growing up and cutting teeth like mad. And his mother holding him, trying to make him do something, I don't know what. And that's Beverly in her little dress. I'd like to have that. In fact, Stephanie wore that dress later on too. I had a picture taken in it. And let's see. Kenny was redheaded. Doesn't see it. You can't see it there, but anyway. Out in the field there, yeah. There's little Kenny. And this was set up to be a joke, which nobody, as I said, nobody laughed but me. So it'd be a little baby, and I'll pull her out. Pull Beverly out. Now we've gone up to a kennel. Just stopped by there to watch the dogs, and several people would come by to pay a visit to their dogs, like the Dalmatians, which are very popular now. And here we are one Sunday afternoon down at Virginia Beach, and you can tell it's kind of cold. Your daddy carrying you Bev up the stairs off the sand there. You see nobody's down there. Nothing is open. Beverly's got on a little coat I made her from a dress Mother had made me. Got a linen like, and there she is again, little Beverly. And this is in the backyard up in Norfolk someplace, I don't know, where we rented a while we're waiting for a house to be finished. On Biltmore Road, I believe it was, that we were. And this is Lynell. That was this little Kenny. That's my sister Ida. That's Beverly again. There's Lynell. Donald is lying down. He's taking it easy. And I'm feeding my face as usual. This is taken down at Yorktown, where we went over to visit them, and then where they lived in Newport News. And then we all went on this little picnic. Ida was a real good cook, and I don't know what all she didn't have. Something like everything was done from scratch too. There are the two little girls. And there's Ida holding Kenny with his little red foot on his head, which you can't tell. And she's trying to show that he has 5 teeth and he's 5 months old. She's not really giving him coat. And here you are, Beverly. Just what you want to see when you're grown up. Yeah, hi. And that's Lynell doing the same thing. And her father taking pictures, and your father taking the movies. I didn't realize Donald was so thin. And then we moved up from Yorktown. We went up and visited around in Williamsburg. There's no one we know of them. Then we skip on over. This is later. We've just gone over to City Park in Norfolk to walk around in the afternoon. And your daddy's taking the movies, and that's the Peacock, which was beautiful, but it doesn't turn it. And Kenny's in the carriage, and there's Bev. There you are. And we're in the rose garden. Now we skipped up to, there's Mr. Bald, your grandfather, mowing the grass. There's your grandmother and grandfather going to their meeting. And this is Mrs. Bald's mother, Emma Blundell, who was a very sweet person. Right. And there's Beth. There you are in Beverly in Hugh Leslie's shirt, taking your dress off, so we're up there visiting. So you won't muss up your little dress I have on, so you can feel free to roam around picking up cats, which were all over the place. A dog and all. Look at your little curly hair. Now this is next door over at the Smith's place, which was Mrs. Ball's sister, and that's one of Miss Smith's, one of the Smith children. There's another one. There's three. There's Mary, is Miss Ball's sister. This is her other daughter. For the life of me, I can't remember her name, but she told him there's. And here's Hugh Leslie with his back turned. All the little kids out there wrestling around. One of the little kids got his head hurt. Now this girl, shortly after that, when I was in the hospital with Douglas there, he hurt his head. And that's Hugh Leslie. Hugh Leslie remembers that. Anyway, that girl was just holding, which is y'all's cousin. She died from an operation, appendix that burst. And she was just preparing to get married too, which was sad. So that was in 1949. And this is up where Mama and Daddy were buried. I'm a little late here now. This is back in Sterling. There's Hugh Leslie with the dogs, and Kenny and you, Beverly. This is up at Aunt Nellie's, and look at Beverly. I mean, I've never seen Beverly not go to anybody. Strange enough. Look, she wanted it down. Smart girl. That's my Aunt Nellie, who's dead now. There's little Kenny. She says, I'll take him. He won't do that. But he wouldn't do that either. And this is back up the place we were renting in Norfolk, waiting for the house. And I don't know why, I'd get the children dressed every afternoon, after they had their naps and all that. Now we're skipping up. This is the time when I'm expecting Doug. And we've gone up we're on our way to Massachusetts to see my sister and her husband. We've stopped in Connecticut to visit the people that introduced to your father and myself. And there's Mary. She was one of them. That's a friend of hers. And we were at their property where they had a garden and play area where they were going to eventually build. That's Kenny on his first seesaw with you, Beverly, on the other side. And there I am, expecting, a little tired by now. You can tell. Took a long time getting there. There's Mary. We saw a glimpse of Emil there when they were cooking. That was a good time because they had corn on the cob. They just picked it and put it in the boiler, timed it perfectly. The hamburgers and drinks and a tub full of ice with drinks and everything in it. That was Lee Nell at the window. She was quarantined for something or another, and there she's finally out. And there's you, Beverly. There's your father. There's Kenny, doesn't like being crowded. This is up at Cambridge. We're visiting my sister. on that same trip. And your daddy's going to go back to Norfolk and leave us up there for a week. And there he goes. He's flying off, going back. And let's see. Yeah, there he goes. So this is when Donald was going to MIT. So that's the reason they're in Cambridge. And there, this is out in the yard. Linnell, Kenny crawling to the sidewalk. We're just getting ready to leave. We're packing up, in the process of packing up the car. Getting everybody together. That's after your father, of course, at that. Now we're leaving. I don't know where this bridge is, New Jersey, somewhere down that way. This is much of, now Douglas is here. This is not in sequence, so you just have to bear with it. That's Dougie, and we're over at City Park in Norfolk. Little Kenny, you can tell what color his hair is there. And there's Doug again crawling. Oh, Doug, that's right. Yeah. That's you, Douglas, wanting my compact to play with. And there I am with the dress on that Anita, my neighbor, had made me out of a Vogue. Pattern is a beautiful, beautiful plain, whatever. Oh, some sort of wool. And we'll skip from there. We're going down to Forksville, down in Mecklenburg County, Virginia, where I was born, and we're having a cookout there. Let's see, that's Kenny toasting his mother, and there's breakfast cooking, that's Beverly, and I'm feeding Douglas. We only had the 3 at that time. And there's Kenny going through the little bushes. We're still on the church grounds. And there they are. There's little Doug in the stroller, and it's out in the front of the church. The church is gone now. They've moved it someplace else. I never did find out where. And this is the church that, before I was born, my grandmother built. My grandmother Eusebia built this church, and she's buried out back there. Whenever we go down that area, we go and see the graves, Granddaddy and Grandma. And this is the beginning of the opening of the church. It's always stayed open. And at that time, it was still furnished. The pulpit and the pews and the organ, everything was in there. Now I'm pointing up to the mistletoe. That's all in the trees. I don't know whether that church was being used at that time or not, but anyway. And this is back in Norfolk at Christmas, as you can tell. And that's you, Beverly, with Kenny. And I have a feeling this is the Christmas before Douglas was born, in April. And there they are, dressed in the afternoon after their naps. I should say nap, because only one took a nap. And waiting for their father to come home, who worked at the air station at that time. When we were at Virginia Beach, he worked at Dam Neck. That's the reason we lived at Virginia Beach. And that's our little neighbor, Henry. He's grown and married, of course, now with his own. And Henry had his finger cut. He stuck it in the motor of the Maytag wash machine and got his finger cut off. But anyway, the neighbor tried to get it and take it to the hospital and sew it back on, but I don't know what they did, whether it was successful or not, I don't remember. Anyway, there they are, and that is Kenny. This is when we're The street, if you could see, the streets haven't been done or haven't been completed. There's no grass. It's just, the houses have just been finished, that's all. We just moved in. And if you look closely, this is Easter, of course, and if you look closely, you can see me there I am, and I'm still in my robe. I've just gotten back from the hospital with Doug. So this is April of 1949. Doug was born April 1st. And that's Kenny trying to make a quick getaway with his candy. But she's after him. You can see the expression. She's getting closer. And this I think this is in the backyard. Yeah, this is in the backyard. Now we're skipping back up to in the backyard of their granddaddy's place in Sterling. That's Douglas on the little horse they got for Christmas. That's Kenny on the little fire truck. There you go. Beverly, there you are with your doll baby. You, Leslie, pushing one of the children up there. There they are. That's back of the your daddy's grandmother's house. That's over to your great-grandmother's house. Some more cats and dog. That old dog, I think, was your daddy's when he was a little boy. He lived there a long time. There's your grandmother, Sadie Ball. Grandma doesn't realize she's a little heavy for that, although she wasn't very heavy at that time. There's Douglas. He learned how to get on there by himself. And that old dog's name was Bozo, I think. He's going to try it again. Now this is later. This is up on their property, the Ball property, your grandparents. And Beverly on the ice for the first time. And I mean, it was icy. And Kenny. Looking toward the back. It's funny, in the movies like this, it doesn't pick up exactly the way things really look. He's complaining because Beverly. Now there's Hugh Leslie with you, Beverly, going down. But what I was going to say, it doesn't look like in the back there the way things really look to me. I mean, Mr. Ball kept everything very neat and all, and the chicken coop and the root cellar and all that. Doesn't look like. Now, this is much later. This is apparently on my birthday. Aunt Noah had bought me a cake. It was over from Bethesda or Chevy Chase somewhere. There's some, and they got to smell it. And as far as I remember, I had something very sarcastic to say that time. I know, I think I was mad about something, and which wasn't unusual. And there we are with little Ronnie, which is not his first time out. As I've said before, this is not in sequence. Now there's Kenny, Doug, little Ronnie, and Beth. There you all are. Ronnie, that's you for the first time on that we're showing it. Anyway, on I just caught something just recently on this film. Those two boys hitting each other back and forth. And Ronnie, you don't look like you're too happy being thrown around like. And Doug, you don't either. Now there you are, Ronnie. Look at there. I'll do the same thing with you as I did with the others. You're going to smile or else. It's one if I hadn't killed y'all, I'm shaking you. Wonder what damage I did. They say you're not supposed to shake little children, little babies. Look at that. Isn't that cute? You can't just see you, Ronnie, saying, oh my God, what'd she put me down? What'd she put me down? Leave me alone. Okay. Okay. Then I think we're just riding around for some reason or other on a Sunday afternoon over in Washington. It's interesting seeing the different vintage cars, right? And let's see, then of course you recognize that. No reflection pool. Now we're back in the little town of Sterling. There's Mrs. Ball, your grandmother. There you are, Beverly. You're going to take a train ride up to Leesburg, which was the last run of this little train. So it's an event. And let's see, there I am across the tracks. I've forgotten that girl's name that was right close to the camera there. She had a club foot with, I guess that's what you call her, with the big lift on one foot. Anyway, she was real nice. She used to come see me. Forgotten her name. Now there's, there you are, Beverly, on the ice. And you can see the sled just goes. I'm not saying who that is. It's not, there was little Doug. Doug was not, oh Lord. I know that hurt. Anyway, I don't know which one I had there. I did have Doug. Have you on there, Doug? No, that's Beverly. I've never been on ice before, so I'm rationalizing that. I don't know what I'm doing. So I love that get-up. I definitely didn't see that in Vogue. Okay, there's little Doug wanting to go back where it's warm. No, I can't blame him. That's, I started to say, here, let's see, that's your daddy and you, Bev. See, Doug's not happy. Douglas, you don't like it cold. I bet your hands are cold. Yeah, you don't even have on mittens. And there's your father. And that's a camera he built up, which was a good camera. And there's your father with Kenny. This is still in Sterling. It looks like it's a lot of fun. I know that your daddy said they used to go way, way up, way past the curve at the cemetery, going way up the hill, about a couple of good miles, and start on the sled and come all the way down Sterling, because it's all the way down, it's all downhill. So that was fun, particularly at night. Now this is your, Ronald, this is your first outing, really. I've got you wrapped in everything I could find. And this is at the front of that little house. When I came out the back, when I stepped on the ice, I went flat. Right flat out. But yeah, I was holding you, so you didn't know. You just thought that was fun, I guess. But I like this, going out and bouncing all around. But anyway, and there's your grandmother, showing us, all of us, how it should be done. And that's the proper way to stop. You just don't run into the fence. Anyway, at least she's not falling down. And here comes your grandfather, Leslie Ball, holding Doug and pointing up to the window where I'm standing with you, Ronnie. And Doug, if you see your grandfather, you always see you, Doug, because he's carrying you around like you're the only one. He always said you look like your father, so I guess that's the reason he was sort of attached to you more so than the other 13 or how many kids, grandchildren he had. If you can't go straight, go sideways. There we go. And here they're all around. One of these is Jarvis's child, which is your cousin, of course, and that's Hugh Leslie down there digging. They're all helping the granddaddy. And Mr. Ball, there he is there. And Kenny. Mr. Ball looks like he's short there, but he's not. He wasn't real tall either. But he was a workaholic. Didn't like to see anybody sitting around. The only time and that's you, Leslie, and that's you, Beverly, and Kenny, Mr. Ball. Anyway, Mr. Ball used to come over in the afternoons to watch the children's show, Cowboys, and coming in from Washington. He'd sit there, mesmerized, falling off the chair almost, looking at the TV, which we used to get a kick out of. And I think that's Darcy's boy, sitting up there kicking his feet, looking over toward, past the Smith's property over to the church. I think that's the chicken coop. No, it's not the chicken coop. I don't know what it is back there now. That's one of Hugh's sisters. Hugh had one sister, Doris, and I've forgotten how many children she had, but that's her oldest child anyway, a boy. And at one time they lived on the other side of the Ball's house, which it was 3 properties there together that he owned. And what's in the back, which we'll see very shortly, on the field in the back, is now a little mini market and a road going through it. Church Road, I think it's called. And this used to be the road right in the front there, but it passes that now. There's quite much traffic out that way too. It's building up all around where the cemetery was out there. It's unbelievable. It used to be pretty private. In fact, I could walk the children in the afternoons down the road, pushing one and the others running around, and go down to the hill up where the cemetery was, just to walking them up. And there was no traffic to speak of. It wasn't dangerous, in other words. This is out in the yard, looking over toward, that's the kitchen over Mrs. Over to your grandmother's, is at the front. And this is in a position where I could watch out the kitchen window to see that you all were all right. And that's little Doug. I need somebody to push him. That's you, Douglas, over there, wondering how come they can move and I can't. And that there in the background is the root cellar of the spring house. Go down, it goes underground, of course. Beyond that was a garden and a play yard that your granddaddy had fixed up for you all, for all the grandchildren, with all kinds of equipment that he had taken all the rust off and repainted it and built it all up, and had all kinds of things out there for you. teeter-totters and all kinds of place to play ball, which was good. Now we're going, Doug. There you go, happy. Not only that, it's no snow or ice around. I know the feeling about that. It got cold out there. And the background there, that's a barbecue pit back there. It has arch seating all on both sides of it that your granddaddy built. It was really nice. I had the plans in some book I had, and he saw it and liked it, so he copied it. He was good at building things. Now we're back to the train ride with Miss Ball and you, Beverly, and I guess it's the end of it. You just come home from up there. I deliberately turned the camera. I thought it would work this way, but it didn't. And that's you, Beverly, with doing your little tap dance with a little two-piece dress on that Anita in Norfolk had made you, with little envelope pockets on it. This is some of your little biddies that your grandparents had out back. They had a lot of chickens and things. This is back, has to be the summer of, let's see, 1951, I guess. The Ball family reunion. The last one I went, there's you, Beverly. And I don't know all these people. Since Mr. Ball, that's one of his sisters with her back right there. Kenny was crazy about her. At this time that this reunion took place, that's Hugh Leslie. At the time that this took place, all of Mr. Ball's sisters and brothers were living. I think it was 13 of them. And their spouses. And there wasn't, he was so proud. There goes Mr. Ball, your granddaddy. But you, Doug. There were no divorces between his brothers and sisters. And this is, we've jumped over to the bay, Chesapeake Bay. I call this in the front yard, as it was, right up front. And that's not the Queen Mary either. I don't know where that thing came from. It washed up, and I guess I took the kids down the steps to it to get them in there. But it's over their heads. I don't know why we don't have something in there like a life preserver or something. Live on the edge is what I'm saying. Now, can you tell I've never had a bra or in my hand before? Oh, as I said, the best part about that is I had on a sweater I had knitted at taken apart another sweater and a sleeveless and V-neck sweater. And why I mention that, because my sister mentions it out. Oh, you can do so many things. You knitted it. Knit one sweater, big deal. Now we're up, spend the afternoon at Leesburg Airport, which of course now is changed and it is the airport, not too far away. Still in that vicinity of in Leesburg, not right here. And we're up there with the purpose of spending a little time with the kids, running around. And now we have 4. And we're waiting actually for Arthur Godfrey to fly in from New York. Meantime, your father's walking you all up and down the road. Of course, you, Ronnie, are too young to be out. At this, kept you in the car with me most of the time, of course. And we had people, since we had a movie camera there, but you didn't see them too often in those days. So we had plenty of people that were willing to show off. Like, there was some man that went up and came back down later on it for us to take pictures of him. And this is the crop dusters. They were just going up and down and coming back and forth for us to take pictures. And that looks a little scary, and it was for the children, because the plane looked like, to them, they thought it was a big bug. If you can see that. It's so low to the ground. and coming to them. I remember they were kind of crying, praying like they wasn't too happy about that. And now they're landing. They weren't working that day. They were just having something to do. So here they come back in. I think that's when it scared the children too. There's two of them. Now that has already buzzed the airport, and that's Arthur Godfrey coming in. He flew real low and buzzed. His wife is there. She'd just gotten there to pick him up. And there he is. I don't think anybody else came with him. Quite often, he'd bring some of the other people that were on his TV show. And that's his wife coming in. And that's his son. And the little goat that had been given to Arthur Godfrey that went on his show. Now there's Arthur Godfrey backing up, getting ready to leave. And when you know, you've heard this story happening before, people say, but the film gave out. And it did, and that's you, Ronnie, isn't that darling? But Arthur Godfrey, he pulled the car around, and Kenny was crying. And I didn't have his little cap, you could see he's redheaded. And I guess that's the reason Arthur Godfrey said anything to me. What'd you do to that child? Because he was redheaded himself. Now we're back in Sterling, and I love this. Show my son, Ronnie. I think the way he has his hat on, too. That's priceless. Oh, yeah, this is my Aunt Nellie, mother's sister, coming to visit us. And that's you, Dougie Immel. Douglas was named after Immel that introduced the father. And this is you, Ronnie. And that's my old cat, my first cat. Lucian, I named him. Oh, he followed me like he was a dog from room to room and watched you every minute. There's the whole motley crew. This is over at Cedarhurst on the Bay. And when we've just gotten there, we go over there on the weekend. We've just gotten there. That's that dog. We had a side, this is a lot on the side. It did have swings and all like that one time for the children to play on. And down. And that's everybody's pet in the neighborhood. We didn't have a fence at that time. That's you, Dougie. That's you, Ronnie. And that's the dog. They're the three oldest children out with their father out in the boat. 1.5 horsepower. Must have gotten it off of a sewing machine or something, but anyway, it wouldn't go but so fast. I've actually taken that up at night by myself, so I know it didn't go fast, didn't go away from the harbor. I think that's priceless. Little Ronnie standing out there, you waving at the rest of them. And let's see, that's you, Ronnie, that your father is holding. Kenny kicking. And we brought Lee-Nell, that's Lee-Nell, my sister's little girl. We brought her back with us when we were up there visiting. That's your father. This is over an area that was at Cedarhurst that was netted in to keep the stinging nettles off. So all the children like to go there and play. There usually was a lot of children over there too. And that's little Ronnie. Watch him, puts his head, yeah. Ronnie, you don't think much of this. But at least you have life preservers on. Now we're getting wiser. No, I want to go home and go to bed. I don't feel too good. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I don't know who that is. I don't want to know either. Oh, Lordy. Let's see who that is. Oh, no. No, I guess it's the same person. I think I've improved on that a little bit. Yeah, this is good for stinging. Some of the little the little tentacles off the stinging got through the wires. Sometimes they'd sting you anyway. So I guess I was getting some dirt to put on. Some sand to put on. Now this is Linnell flying back to Cambridge, or Syracuse, I believe it at that time. They had moved. Donald had finished MIT and they were living in Syracuse. Yeah. So that's another trip we had made up there. And she's going flying all back by herself. Brave little soul. She later went, after she graduated from William and Mary, she went into the Peace Corps. So she got to travel a lot later on. And this is over at Cedarhurst. For the life of me, I'm not sure why we were as if it was the beginning of a hurricane, or just, it wasn't afterwards, I don't think. But anyway, that's taken from the front yard. And you can see the roads right there at the front yard, and then you're right at the water. And this looks like it's a day after a hurricane. It's well to remember. So, you know, I think it is. Well, it may have been the same day when it was winding up. It was 1954, the year before Stephanie was born, that we had the hurricane come up the coast, Hazel, and it did some damage, particularly down at the harbor. That's Kenny walking along by himself, like he thought he was grown. And this is down at the harbor. It's showing how the boats, the whole place is inundated, all the way up to the community house. And the little piers, most of them were demolished completely. And some of the local children, that's Butch right there, Butch Tita, a neighbor's boy. There's old Ken. At the water. Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Smith. That's down next to the Smiths on the other side of us where they grew up uprooted. This is Butch holding you, Ronnie. He always paid a lot of attention to you. Now we have a fence up. And somebody has brought that dog down for us to keep too, with Mike or what. And here are the children out on the pier. Now we bought it. This is a new film. The others were old and outdated, so this looks better. I can't make out what. That's some of the children that stayed down there most of the time, all day long. They were like what you'd call water rats. They were in the water all the time. I've forgotten that girl's name, if you can make her, but anyway, there she is. They're pulling her apart. They think she's a wishbone. But anyway, she was a great swimmer, and she was a good sport too. And that looks like you, Ronald. Somebody's pushing. But this is a bunch of girls of a club that I belong to over there. Just married girls, 13, and their children. And they came over, I had a luncheon. We used to take turns meeting at each other's houses at night, but this was the luncheon that I had for them. They brought the children over, and they were playing games, and they were down at the water. Don't ask me who anybody is, I don't know. Now, the girl I just mentioned about that was such a good swimmer and such a good sport and everybody liking her, one of the times you, Douglas, fell off of the post there, and all the piling, and she went right underneath and got you. You were blowing bubbles down there. And this is later Don and Esther that worked with your father at the Bureau of Standards, and Esther worked in payroll. I don't know what Don did. And years later, someone I was chumming around with, Millie Wise, and in the conversation something came up, I don't know why. We were down at Pope's Creek having crabs and all a bunch of us, and I mentioned, I don't know why it was brought up. I was mentioning Don, whatever his name was. Turned out this was Millie Wise's brother. That was her nephew anyway. Well, it's a small world, as you say, Ronnie. I wouldn't want to paint it. Now this is later. This is down at the harbor. That's Esther. That's Hubert Page from Sterling. They used to come over, your father's friend. And they were shooting clay pigeons. They were hitting them. It's Don and Hubert, your father. And this is, now we're living over there. And y'all are starting to school. First day of school. It couldn't have been your first day over there because apparently you've got your report cards there. So, wasn't your first grade. This is jumping around. This is down at down at John Kerr Dam, which is down almost, in fact, the North Carolina line borders right through it. John Kerr was a North Carolinian, but the dam and all, we're down there having breakfast in the since. And this is back over at Cedarhurst. This is the beginning of the Hurricane Hazel. And I'd go at different times taking these as it was advancing until I couldn't go out there any longer. And toward the last, it didn't develop at all. Didn't turn it because it was too dark. And I couldn't help anyway. And this looks like it's the day after. Nobody's out there, though. We were evacuated, and the water was up there almost to your knees in the yard. That's our boat sitting out there, and the pier shot. You are, Ronnie, working even those days, cleaning up. The roof was torn up, part of the porch, the antenna and all. This is later. Then this is when, let's see, it must have been the summer of '55, yeah. And I'm expecting Stephanie. And we're, somehow or another, I'm in one of the boats to take movies. And there's you, Doug, and Kenny. And that's in this one. And then now I'm the one that's taking these movies. So I shouldn't have been out there bouncing around, I'm sure. That's Robert Morey. Leatherbury? I guess Robert Leatherbury. And it's his boat. And your father is in this is Robert Murray's father. And I think that's still, it's hard to tell. They wanted to take pictures of this one girl that had skied in Cypress Gardens. She broke her leg, and she was just recuperating, had just taken the cast off, and they wanted her to be out there and me take pictures of them all and on them skiing. Now that's your father with Douglas, you, Douglas, and Kenny, and Bev, the three of them. I don't know where you were, Ronald, because you were in someplace. I guess I had you in the boat with me, but you weren't available. And you certainly wouldn't have been left in the house by yourself. Okay. Now I think this is the girl with the cap on. Looks like a boy. And the one that could ski so well. Yeah, your daddy's going to be pulling her. That's right. While I take the pictures. And now she's kicking off a ski. Robert Murray in the back of him. I was going to throw a little interest in there while I was doing this. Yeah, there's still the other girl, I don't know what her name is. I can't make it whether you're in there with your father or not, Ronnie. I don't think I would let you be in the boat with him. Anyway, I don't know. That's Robert Murray. And that's your father. He's up there skiing all the time. This is something new for him. He wasn't, Robert Murray and them, they were up and back and forth to Florida and all around. They were used to it. And this is much later when we're living in Wheaton, Maryland. We've moved away and sold the place over at the bay. And this is in the backyard with the old dog, Tramp. She's a good old dog. Shows up on here how badly she needed to be brushed. Good Lord. She never caused any trouble. She was gone when we got her. I don't know where she came from. And this is the only picture I have of the whole family together. This is me. And you, Doug, then Kenny, then your father holding Stephanie, then there you are, Ronnie. Now you can pay some attention to your little birthday present. And there you are, Beverly, with the dog. You can see Ronnie's hair. Your hair is blonde. You're a towhead. Douglas, you could see you were a brunette. Beverly's hair was dark too, dark brown. He's looking across the street to Joyce's house. I forgot what Joyce's last name was, but anyway, she was one of my neighbors. That's before they put up a fence. And it doesn't show the yard, all the, I had borrowed you children's money with the intention of paying you back so I could buy shrubbery, which I put on grafting paper, what I wanted and how I wanted it around the yard. And it really was, when we sold the place, the man that bought it took all the shrubbery away. He said that and put it on his own place. But I enjoyed it, working up in the yard and all, but we don't have any pictures of it. And I got most of the shrubbery from already bald. I didn't want to get little clippings and dig it in and wait for it to grow up. And this is over at Sherwood Forest. And that's Jimmy somebody, another, I forgot his last name. That was Hugh's boss at the Bureau of Standards. And he had invited us down for the day at their home at Sherwood Forest, their cottage, summer cottage it is. They live in Chevy Chase. He was a nice person. I liked him a lot. And he had saved a rockfish, because I'd mentioned one time I liked rock, and he had it frozen, and this was the dinner. We were supposedly down for a rockfish dinner. And all of them went out skiing. Beverly got to ski for her first time. It was a nice place, a nice house. To be a summer house, they had everything. Now we're back in the yard. That's the bay, you can see it. Chesapeake Bay. And the side lot we've seen. And the children, they've either been to a party because they're dressed, to church. They used to go to Sunday school over there. And we're skipping around. We're back up visiting the grandparents. And the boys have gotten, the two oldest boys have gotten, as you can see, boxing gloves for Christmas. And I think that's Hugh Leslie holding up Kenny's as the winner. Now we're skipping back over the bay. And it's you, Beverly, with your first boyfriend, who was a twin. And you're sitting by the little pond next door, and Beverly said, Mom, they're easy to get, but you can't. How do you get rid of them? They're hard to get rid of. That's what I thought that was a pretty smart thing. Now we're up at Wheaton, Maryland, and that's little Stephanie. I don't know how old she was, but anyway. I try to keep her shirts off of her while get the sun on her chest as much as possible, since she had a respiratory problem when she was about 5 months old. I had to go to Children's Hospital to be in an oxygen tent. And it was later diagnosed by the doctor that thought that she was allergic to the dog being in the house. Anyway, and there she goes. Oh, she's gonna show him how it's done. That water was so near yet so far. It took a while to learn that you had to push it up there. That's out in the backyard. And once in a while in these shots you can see the little twigs of the miniature poplars that they were supposed to be. And they came from experimental grounds up in Pennsylvania somewhere. They weren't supposed to grow but so far. So high and all. Those things grew up very big trunks on them. The people that bought the house, they eventually cut them down. But they were really nice. Everybody wanted twigs off them like owl, but they weren't able to, they never grew from them. That's Kenny having a little fit because he's just dying to take hold of her and squeeze her. That's you, Ronnie, sitting beside you, Stephanie. And you, Douglas, sitting over there, rubbing her little hair, the little bit she has. Stephanie, you didn't lack for attention, that's for sure. This is a good point. That's a good. Oh well. I don't know why I thought it was necessary to wash sheets and air blankets every day, but it kept me off of the street, as they say. It kept me busy, in other words, and I didn't go too far from home. By that I mean I wasn't gallivanting all around. Didn't have time. And this is at National Airport. That is our neighbor, the first one off there beside the stewardess, Eldon Rucker. He'd been to Cuba. And now we're back out in the backyard at Wheaton, old tramp, you Douglas, you Stephanie, and Kenny, and the rabbit that the teacher, last day of school, and the teacher had given Douglas that little rabbit to take home for him, his own self, for him to keep. And see the trees out there? There's one right by that little girl. And those little twigs, they grew up to be big, humongous, up down the tier. The little rabbit disappeared. Some child I'd never seen before came kitchen door and said, "Can I play with the rabbit? Can I see that rabbit?" And that's the last we saw of that rabbit, which didn't go over too well with you, Doug, which I can understand. That's you, Stephanie, laughing. That's our neighbor, Clara May Rucker. Let me tell you, that wasn't my idea. Anyway, that's you, Stephanie. Isn't she, darling? Isn't that cute? No. Acting coy. She has a mouthful of teeth, too. All of y'all had teeth. And I think that's the Millers. That's Clara May with the Miller's little boy, and that little girl was hers, Robin. That's a scroungy looking dog over there. That's Kenny. Now we're skipping up to, we moved around, Leesburg. And the Leesburg and the band, which Doug's in and Ronnie's in. Ronnie's got the big drum. You don't see him right now. And this is in the courtyard up at Leesburg. Ronnie, and no, this is you, isn't it? Right there? That's you, Ronnie. That's your king. You're the drummer, the big drummer. Okay, here we go down. Trying to recognize some of these places across the street, but still, it's in Leesburg anyway. Oh, fiddle. Douglas was in there marching. I forgot to point him out. I forgot this. Douglas used it. Anyway, this is where we lived up in Loudoun County. That's the barns and all, and there's the little house. Looked like a Grandma Moses painting. And it's right many homes back there now. But at that time, it was I think it was 400 acres that all belonged to the Camps, and which lived up the road. And he rented a lot of the properties out, like for cattle and for the thoroughbred horses right there. We didn't get any pictures of the horses. I had a stream running through the property, which the kids used to enjoy. And Kenny collected turtles, had his little turtle farm, and named each one of the turtles. And your father dug wiring down far enough under the ground so they couldn't dig out, and bent it up at the top so they couldn't crawl out. You can't do that nowadays because they carry diseases. There's a little, and I remember you all caught skunks, and you had to be denuded out in the barn because you got sprayed. And sadly, that's the end of it. We didn't get any more when you